How's it going, guys? So we're here for that another base. Um, what would you call it? What was I calling it before? I guess showing you my Rust base, because the new jungle update is coming out this Thursday. So I decided, you know what? We're gonna show you my next base, as I usually almost try to always do. I don't think I previously showed you the last one because I just totally forgot about it. But this one, so to give you kind of a backstory, I pretty much decided to uh, live in every single biome that you could live in Rust. And the last base that I had was an iceberg base. Now, those are basically the second most unrateable base in the game because you have to deal with the cold, you have to deal with having to swim there, and if you get hypothermia, you're going to die even faster. Then you have the polar bears. It's the most scarce place on the entire map, so you get somewhat of trees, you get a lot more nodes, but as for stuff like making bandages or hemp or any stuff like that, you will not get in that area. Any food supplies like pumpkins and corn and wheat do not exist in that area, so your only choice is either try to do fishing or to take on polar bears, which each one of those has like 450 health. So I pretty much got bored of doing that, and I was originally living up in this area up here, and I said, you know what? One of the areas I've never tried taking was a swamp base, and usually swamps will look like this in the forest area. So I decided to take over an entire swamp, which I did. But before we get to that, we're gonna get to our little store over here that I decided to make. Um, if you get the reference of Belmont, then you'll know exactly where that name comes from. Basically, just once I pretty much conquered everyone on the map, I pretty much just started a little shopkeep here, just selling teas, your pies and stuff like that. Um, I built around like the anvil rock here. You come around over in this area, I've got like a little garage here. It's got my little vehicle in here. I got the three storage truck one. It's my personal opinion. It's the best one you can get, um, because each one holds. I want to say it's 30 or close to 40 slots per little inventory place. So it makes a lot on top of your backpack, on top of your regular storage here, so you can carry a lot. On top of it, you actually have a teammate to join with you with their backpack and their inventory. I mean, you're carrying close to maybe 300 slots worth of items, which is actually really nice. But come in here. No, I pretty much TC'd the entire area. So where the wooden part was the original part of the base itself, and then I started seeing random bases start popping up around the swamp area. Now, the swamp area is not exactly a preferable choice for clans, which is kind of surprising that. But I think it's mostly due to the fact because it consists mostly because it consists of water. You know, you have to build your structures higher. You can't really bunkify your base too well and stuff like that. I personally like it because it's you get access to fresh water. It's easier to defend once you actually get the resources, um, so you don't have to worry about building on like the riversides and having to deal with multiple people there and getting door camps and stuff like that. But I do have like three furnaces out, large furnaces out there. I've got two turrets on each side guarding each area, um, between like shotguns and LMGs, so you're not really going to get into this place. On top, I got the floor spikes, so if you do manage to climb over the wall with ladders, which some people would usually try to do, you're going to drop right into floor spikes as it is, so that round alone is going to make it more difficult. On top of it, if the turrets do spot you, you're pretty much dead anyways. I want to say like the stone wall consists of maybe 100 pieces of stone wall to circle the entire swamp base. And it's one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of clans is that they'll build entire structural walls like this, one big circle around the entire area, and that's their only defense. So if they don't place any turrets, they'll have like a massive base right here and then just one wall. But they rely on turrets so much, you know, it's just never really made any sense to me. You think that clans that would have massive amounts of resources who you should take over an entire server would actually do like the a ripple base, kind of like the ripple effect. You drop a rock into there and it's drop a rock in the water and it makes rippling effects of circles. So you think what they would do is wall off the entire area and then continue to do that until you actually reach their main base. So even if you did go through, say, like that one wall right there and then had the floor spikes and you climbed over and you continued to heal yourself with the bandages and medical syringes and stuff like that, and you actually got in, and tried to do the same thing over here, but instead you'd have to do that with multiple walls. Yeah, it's going to be a little more cost efficient, but when seeing some of those giant Zerg bases as is, I don't think it's really going to make that much of a difference anyways. It just would make it a whole lot harder for people to actually get inside your base, especially if they try to use something like the battering ram or the siege ram, whatever you want to call it. Once you upgrade them all to metal walls or just multiple stone walls, I mean, it's like what, 60 high qual every time to repair that damn thing, on top of whatever fuel you use, and it's slow moving, so it would make it extremely difficult. But then I got it surrounded with the wooden wall, which is the first ones I decided to go with. And then, well, actually, the first one would be the stone wall. I actually bought the Adobe skin for that too. So, and then it was that stone wall going way around my base, and then the wood wall, and then eventually the actual stone high wall itself. So even if you do manage to blow through some of these garage doors, I've got shotgun traps. I've got like at least 10 different turrets guarding my base, so no matter which way you try to get in, you're gonna get shot by either LMGs, AKs, MP5s, bolt action rifles, and stuff like that. I do have like a little guard section that goes almost all the way around. After that, I pretty much just started building little gardens and stuff like that too, just to make it look more nicer. Chicken coops. Another thing I haven't seen a lot of people actually use. Relatively easy to keep up. All you do is just put food in there, which has a stack of 40. I think it's like 5,000 milliliters or something like that of water. And even with just 2 chicken eggs, I'm getting 40 chicken eggs for each one. So really nice. I've got my 2 oil refineries. I got my little bees over there. Bees extremely easy to take care of. All you do is just stick some nucleus in there, which you would get from honey, and the bees will continuously make honey themselves. Got my little fertilizer. I got like a little cooking station up there, which I always keep locked. I got like 2 more there for basically just raiding people, stuff like that. I highly recommend, if you're going to actually have cooking stations or mixing stations outside your base, which is a rarity that I ever see anyone actually ever do, I highly recommend you actually lock them up, because if you are getting raided, people have an easier way to actually raid your base by using one of your mixing stations or something like that, by just building constant, explosives or explosive rounds, C4, or anything like that they can get a hold of, which they don't have to travel as far to their base in order to actually make that. They can just use one of those. Now, when it comes to bases, I don't tend to really make really huge bases, mostly the fact because the upkeep is so goddamn much, it's just not worth it. And as a solo player who's even in a team, I still play solo by myself, mostly because my teammates decide I always want to play in the desert, which is really annoying. I try to compartmentalize my base, so it may be into either separate pieces or maybe a smaller base, but I try to stack as much room in there as best as possible. So over in this part of the section here, I basically have my little little blacksmith area, I guess you would call it, store your ore in there, stuff like that. So this is where I keep all my furnaces, keep them separately from my actual main base itself. Up here, I have a little entrance here. This basically leads up to my little sniper tower, or some people would call it a camping tower, a roof camping tower. Wasn't actually meant for that main reason. It was mostly just so I can actually scout over my walls. I've had a few engagements with some people actually scouting out my base and stuff like that, and actually trying to build within a certain distance of my base to try to raid me, and I managed to get them first. These were eventually garage doors that switched into armor doors, 2 shotgun traps, You know, even something like this, I'm pretty sure it still takes like what 4, 8 rockets just to blast through, anyways. And then more armor doors. And for any you gun enthusiasts out there, oops, let me turn that on. I've got 3 different fridges. You know, just stacked full of resources, multiple clones, more food, and then literally I have just weapons of weapons. I got multiple chests in here. I got my tier 3, multiple chests there. Main core is right there, but I've got like weapons there, weapons up there here. You know, I've got another thing here where I'm keeping all my honey and the rest of that stuff in there. And then you come up through here. You know, I've got like 2 lockers full of gear. I have like another third locker I'm trying to find out more room for. You know, I've got more guns here. I've got guns all over this area. Got all my chests up here. You know, and then there's like a little nook up there. I got guns over there. Comes in comps wise, I mean, I pretty much got everything you can have in this goddamn thing. You know, resources wise, I got all the key cards, got MSL targeting systems, I got MSL rockets. You know, I've got metal, stone. You know, I got like basically almost everything you could want for a small base of this size. Now, you think of like the base of this size, you know, it would consist of like, it would take like a lot of resources for an upkeep and so on and so forth. But the way that how I build my bases, I pretty much try to keep it with under a certain limit of resources needed. So you can only see it only takes 5,500 metal and only 31 high qual in order to keep that. And that's just strictly because of the doors. But for a base of this size, for only 5,500 metal, and it's nighttime, so I do apologize, it doesn't take a lot, you know. And I have like little industrial lights go around my entire base, so if someone manages to try to sneak into my base, you know, lights might actually give them away. I have turrets that are pretty much have flashlights. I didn't realize you could actually still have attachments on guns and still stick them into turrets. I recently found that out, which is really nice. So I could like have like 2 laser sights on there, or I could have, you know, an extended mag with a scope, you know, a silencer or whatever. Weapon attachments with the flashlight, so makes it easier. But I pretty much built it into the swamp tree partially, so I mean, not a really big base, but I mean, as long as you're playing as a solo player, I mean, I don't really see you needing a base really that big, you know. I do have multiple wind turbines so that I can just strictly run power straight through the turrets without actually having to use a battery. Sounds kind of like a bad idea, but most people are usually not going to target wind towers. For 2 reasons, technically. One is cost efficient of just trying to bring one of those damn things down. It would just be a complete waste of resources. And 2, even if you do manage to actually take that person's base, you know, you're not going to want to destroy a wind turbine you could use yourself. And there's a little cargo thing on there. But that's my base. Wanted to show it off. And coming this Thursday is the new jungle update, so I'm going to try to convince my teammates to build in the jungle and see what we can do from that. But either way, stay safe, healthy, sanitize, make sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below, make sure to share my videos, and yeah, stay tuned for sometime this week of a game update that I plan to want to put on this channel that I've been wanting to play for the last like 10 years and never could. But I'll see you guys then.